Today is March 9th and is the 20th death anniversary of the legendary MC, the Notorious B.I.G., also known as Biggie, Big Papa, Frank White. Yes, it's crazy. It's been 20 years since he died on March 9th, 1997. This year is also the 20th death anniversary of Princess Diana and Chris Farley. 1997 was a sad year when those three passed away. I was 6 when he passed away. He was born as Christopher George Latour Wallace on May 21, 1972 in Brooklyn, New York. His mother, Valletta Wallace, raised Biggie by herself while the father left him when he was 2, just like Tupac's father left him when he was 5. Biggie had a rough childhood. In the Notorious movie, at the beginning, little girls would judge Biggie because of his appearance and weight. He nicknamed himself Biggie because of his weight. He was always overweight, was extremely dark-skinned, and had a lazy eye. It wasn't his fault, he had a lazy eye. It's not like he poked his eye out and voila, he became cross-eyed. That doesn't mean that person's unattractive. Either way, Biggie was a charmer, getting women like Faith Evans, Lil' Kim, Charlie Baltimore, etc. Biggie was a drug dealer when he got into trouble. He once was arrested, spending 9 months in jail in North Carolina. He started rapping as a teenager, and he quit drug dealing to pursue his rap career. Biggie got things started in 1993. His first album, Ready to Die, was released on September 13th, 1994. Ironically, 2 years later, Tupac died on the same day of the second anniversary of the Ready to Die release. The album is one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time, and one of the best albums of the 90s decade. Biggie told his stories as a younger criminal from drug dealing to rapper. Biggie would end up in constant fear. In 1994, he told New York Times that he was disliked for having money, which came with his fame, which his fear led to anxiety plus aggression. He would jump whenever the door to his apartment building opened, fearing someone might want to hurt him. He was even scared of his life when it came to Tupac's passing. There were rumors speculating Biggie was involved in Tupac's drive-by shooting, especially when Biggie was one of the few hip-hop artists not to make an appearance at an anti-violence summit held in Harlem. Obviously, Biggie was not involved at all. Biggie knew Tupac was a strong guy, so he said, well, he's been shot before, so I'm sure he'll pull through. But when he died, Biggie was like, whoa. He was shocked. He thought Tupac would pull through, as usual. Even though they were going through their drama, Biggie never wished death on nobody because he knew there was no turning back. Biggie traveled to Los Angeles promoting his Life After Death album. Also filmed his sadly last music video when alive for his oh-so-classic hit, Hypnotize. Biggie also wanted peace, putting an end to the rivalry between the East and West Coast. Biggie also went to the West for several events to support his Life After Death album. Also, he just wanted everyone to know that the rivalry was over. Yeah, tell him, Biggie. Can we have some peace, please? Biggie didn't have time for an East Coast-West Coast feud. The rivalry was over when Tupac died. No one won. Biggie attended to the 1997 Soul Train Music Awards, giving out an award to Tony Braxton. The next evening on March 8th, he attended a party. Then on March 9th, 1997, Biggie left the party in a GMC Suburban SUV at 12:30 a.m. By 12:45 a.m., the SUV stopped at a red light. Remember, his and Tupac's drive-by shootings were very similar. The suspect was driving in a dark-colored Chevrolet Impala SS, pulled up on the other side, rolled down his window, just like Tupac's killer. Okay, this is starting to get very scary and ironic. No. Biggie's killer drew a 9mm blue steel pistol and fired at the SUV. 4 bullets hit Biggie, and he ended up unconscious. His entourage rushed him to the same hospital Eazy died 2 years before Biggie's death. Doctors tried everything to save him as they performed an emergency thoracotomy, but was pronounced dead at 1:15 a.m. at the age of 24, just 2 months before his 25th birthday on May 21st, 6 months after Tupac's death. On March 18, 1997, Biggie's funeral was held 9 days later. Makes sense since they had to do an autopsy, then putting him in a body bag, shipping his body from LA to Brooklyn. And his autopsy report was public back in 2012. I don't know why they took so long to do that. They should have done that somewhere in the late 90s at least. But anyways, there were like 350 mourners at his funeral, including Faith Evans, Puffy, Queen Latifah, Aaliyah, whoever thought she would have died 4 years later, Flava Flav, Little C's, Jay-Z, Busta Rhymes, Run DMC, Salt and Pepper, DJ Spinderella, Foxy Brown, 112, Mary J. Blige, Lil' Kim. This is the most well-known, memorable photo of Lil' Kim crying and mourning over the loss of Biggie. Mary J. right there next to her, comforting and being there for her. Fans went wild when they heard Hypnotize played. Some were arrested, probably letting their emotions get to them. There is Biggie's coffin. He was dressed in a white double-breast suit and a derby-like player hat. He also didn't get buried. He was also cremated, just like again Tupac. Biggie's ashes were given to his family. On March 25th, 2 weeks after his death, Life After Death was finally released. It's a double disc album that quickly rose to #1 on the US album charts and was certified diamond. The album crossed over to the commercial mainstream and had big collaborations. Artists featured on his album were R. Kelly, The Lox, Jay-Z, Angela Winbush, Mace, Puff Daddy, Bone Thugs and Harmony, 112, Lil' Kim, Too Short, Carl Thomas, and DMC from Run DMC. The album is a classic. Some think Life After Death is a Posthumous album, but it's not since Biggie finished the album before he died. It's just that he died 2 weeks before his death, sadly. So it isn't a Posthumous album. If it was, then Biggie would have died 2 months before. It sucks Biggie didn't get to live and see his second album released. No artist deserves to die not seeing their own album released. It really sucks that there was no Life After Death tour. 2 Posthumous albums were released after his death. Born Again released in 1999. Some are unreleased songs, never heard before. Other songs features Biggie's verses we heard before. I would say Born Again was better than the Biggie Duets album. Biggie's Biggie Duets album was released in 2005. It pretty much featured remixes of Biggie songs we've heard before, and features artists on the song a la Biggie Duets. It was alright, but Method Man was a huge critic on the album because he said some of the people on his album Biggie would have never collaborated. And Method Man does have a point. You got Lil Wayne, Jim Jones, Joel Santana, Slim Thug, that were one of those artists that were on Biggie Duet's album. I couldn't see Biggie collaborating with those guys. They obviously got those guys on the album because they idolized Biggie, growing up on his music and yada yada yada. Regardless, if you're trash, then you shouldn't be on the album for a legend like Biggie. Biggie's murder, unfortunately, just like Tupac, still remains unsolved. But here's the suspect. A sketch of what he looks like. The suspect at the time of the night of the drive-by shooting was dressed in a blue suit and bow tie. So this is the low-down, dirty mofo that gunned down Biggie. F the killer. F Tupac's killer. I hope Biggie's mother, Valletta Wallace, gets justice. She deserves to know who murdered her son, along with the rest of his family, friends, and fans. It's sad that Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, she pretty much didn't know who murdered Tupac, her own son, and she died last year. So I'm telling you, I said this before, and I'll say it again. If Eminem, God forbid, hypothetically, ended up in a drive-by shooting, just like Tupac and Biggie, and he died, I'm telling you, they would have found his killer in a split, in a minute. I'm telling you. Because even though Eminem is a rapper, he's white. If he was black, he wouldn't get the justice like Tupac and Biggie, unfortunately, are not getting as of still today. But because he's white, I would have a feeling that they would have found his killer, despite him being a rapper. And it's like, does it really? It shouldn't even matter. It shouldn't even matter if this person's a rapper or that he's black or white. The point is, it's all about justice. Find their damn killers. My goodness. I also heard that the SUV Biggie was gunned down in, it's on sale for like $1.5 million. And I'm like, who on earth is going to buy that SUV when the bullet holes on that car door obviously has to still be in there? Like, who wants to buy an SUV where they know that that's the same car that a legendary MC lost his life due to senseless violence? Come on. And there are also people who will say, well, Biggie shouldn't have went to L.A. He should have stayed in Brooklyn. He should have stayed in the East Coast. He should have let the West Coast, die down a bit, and like could have went, years later to L.A. Okay, I get what people are saying, that Biggie shouldn't have went to L.A. because if he didn't go to L.A., then he still would have been live right now, which is true. I get that. But remember, Biggie was brave enough to go to Los Angeles because he wanted people to know that the East Coast West Coast feud was over. It was over when Tupac died. The man just wanted peace. And I thought that was very brave of Biggie to take that opportunity. Maybe Biggie didn't want to wait years later to do that. It's like he wanted to do it now. So he thought the best way to do that was to go to LA, not to promote his Life After Death album, but he also figured that since he was there promoting his upcoming album, he figured, he just go there, have some fun, and let people know that it's over. Biggie loved Cali. So tell me, where were you when Notorious B.I.G. was gunned down and died on March 9th of 1997? I'm sure some of you probably weren't even born yet, or you probably were. You just were little and didn't really know much about what was going on at that time. You were probably playing with your Legos and blocks and stuff at that time. All right, see ya.